series of short questions. First one, guilty pleasure beer. So a beer you would be embarrassed to admit to a fellow beer nerd that you enjoy.
Céline Dion, maybe?
A beer?
Oh, beer!
A beer.
Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 98 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast. And today we are here at Glutenberg in, is it Hochelaga?
Yeah.
It is? Hochelaga is huge.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize that big. With David, co-owner.
Yeah.
And Gabriel, head brewer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us, guys.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. I want to actually thank you guys because you guys are the reason we still exist the way that it is. I don't think you didn't know that. So we, I used to, when we first started, I met Judith through Pierre. I don't remember Pierre.
Yeah.
He was a brewer here. And at the time, we weren't taking it serious. It was just a casual little podcast with my friend. We were like swearing a lot. I just didn't care because we were just me and him. And then all of a sudden, this brewery was interested in talking to us. I'm like, whoa. And then we were trying to set it up, and I'm not sure if it was with yourself or one of the other partners, and Judith told us that they didn't like that there was so much swearing. We're like, so we can either stop that and sort of rebrand it or keep going that way. So we chose that because of her telling us that, and then it worked out. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
In person, because that's we tell people that a lot. It's just a random little thing.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be an interesting one. Let's start with the beer. So we have 4 different bad boys we're going to get into today.
Yeah.
Which one would you like to start with?
Why don't we start with the non-alcoholic? Or
that would make sense.
The blonde? Or?
Yeah, we can start with either one. We can start with the blonde because it's the first one we do, or we can start with the non-alcoholic because obviously it's non-alcoholic. So
Just pick one?
It's up to you.
Pick one, yeah.
We'll go with the blonde for now.
So let's go with the blonde. It's the beginning of the story. I mean, it all starts with the blonde.
Yeah.
All the like we mentioned earlier, the project when we started the brewery was to do only the blonde for the first 2 years. Obviously, as soon as we start, we got good reviews for the beer, so we went with the American Pale Ale, then the Red Ale, and basically the rest is history.
Yeah,
So,
I think like the whole idea was to make something like very approachable since we're already like in a niche market, so we don't want to make something too heavy, too bitter. So it was like a good introduction
Thanks.
product.
You're welcome.
And it's still today our best-selling product after 7 years. So it's
Cheers. Okay.
a product that we're really proud of. It's not a product that we talk about as often as we used to. Now that we have a lot of seasonal products, products that are more exciting in today's industry.
climate, yeah.
But it's still a product that is really well crafted, and it's our biggest seller still today by far.
Amazing.
So you want to talk about it?
Yeah, a lot of times people will ask us or ask me in beer festivals or what's the beer or usually we have what's your best beer, but that's another topic.
Or heaviest.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys get that too, eh?
Oh yeah. What's your? We have a couple of stories, or we have one beer that we made just I think it was just above 6 or 7% alcohol.
Belgian double?
The Belgian double.
We hate it.
No. It was.
It's a strong word.
Yeah. That's a whole nother story we can talk later. But for the blonde, sometimes people will ask me what's the beer you're the most proud of. People will think it might be like the IPA, the double IPA, or the barrel age something. But to be honest, I think it's the blonde because I mean doing like a light, crisp blonde, it's probably as a brewer, it's what is the most technically difficult because you have nothing to hide behind. If you do a big hoppy beer, you might have little something off with the fermentation, but the super bold hoppiness of the beer kind of hide it. Same thing for let's say black beers, which is really opaque. You cannot see through it. If you're off a little bit on the color, don't care, it's black, so it's going to be darker or lighter, but it's going to be black anyway.
Right.
So the blonde, if there's anything wrong with the quality of the grain, the quality of the hops, the fermentation, or from start to finish the process, if anything goes wrong, as soon as you will notice it in the blonde. So that's probably the beer that is the harder to make, even if it looks light and and I mean not as complex as other beers, but yeah, it's probably the beer that we are the most proud to brew technically because it's harder. Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So, can we talk through the taste profile, at least through each one, because it's a bit more, it's a bit different to everything else. And I feel like you guys are across the world and winning all the awards and stuff for a very good reason.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you blind taste test, maybe.
It doesn't taste like barley. So it's if you expect like to taste barley, you won't get it. But the flavors that we get, what makes this product so interesting is that we have a very unique product that has its own, personality that tastes like nothing else in the world.
Yeah.
But it's so well crafted that it's, an amazing beverage, and you enjoy drinking it, even if it doesn't taste. It's a blonde that doesn't taste barley, which is pretty odd.
Yeah.
But maybe.
But the approach we had was we talked a little bit about before we start the brewery, what we want to do, how we want to position ourselves, or what kind of, and we have all those different ideas. We taste a lot of gluten-free beers from around the world, and some were okay, some were just plain bad. But none of them taste like beer or had the intention to taste like beer. So when we start the research process for the beer, we want to do exactly like if we were doing, let's say, a blonde, we want to do a copy of a traditional blonde beer. What we found out is that if we want to brew a gluten-free beer, it's going to be really hard. But if we do the best beer possible with gluten-free ingredients, then I think it's easier and the product will be better. So our mindset is not to just do a traditional beer with gluten-free ingredients. It's just we found out the best gluten-free ingredients that we can, and we craft the best beer possible out of it. So
same thing with the red, for example.
Yeah, the red. Yeah,
a beer that we created around chestnut. So it's not like a traditional brown ale or red ale. So it's our rousse or red ale, but it's a beer that we created around this specific ingredient. So it's the same approach that we had with the red that we don't have today, but it's another very interesting product. Created with the same.
Yeah, same mindset. At the
Right.
time, what we found is that we find a chestnut supplier, and we said, well, that's pretty nice ingredient. So we start from scratch. Basically, we base the beer around the chestnut, and eventually we create the red. For the blonde, it's the beer. The main grain is millet and corn. So when we start the research process, we try to do all millet beer. Obviously, it tastes like millet.
What is millet?
Millet, it's a really small grain. It's used in
Feed birds.
to feed birds, basically.
Okay.
So the millet we use, it's red proso. Yes, it's red proso millet, and it's the exact same grain that you will find in the mixed grain for the birds. I mean, it's totally fine for human consumption. The problem is that it's really small. We'd say about a tenth of the size of barley malt.
Okay.
And it's about 40% husk and 60% grain, basically. So it's. I mean, if you eat it like this, it's not fun because it's mostly husk and it's not great.
Right.
If you compare with barley, the husk represent maybe 5 to 10%, maybe a little bit less of the grain, and the rest is it's available to eat or brew if you. So for us, we just extract the sugar out of it. So I mean, it's not. I mean, we don't have to eat it this way. And corn obviously was already used in the brewing industry, so we played a little bit with it. Don't want to put too much because then you can have a different problem on the brewing side. But it was pretty close. And so if you want to do, because our mindset when we start with the blonde was really, we had a lot of those comments from let's say everyday people that just want to drink like everyday beer.
Right.
So they finish their, golf game, they want to drink a beer, but they have celiac disease, so either they go with cider or wine or something else, or they drink, I don't want to say crap, but they drink other gluten-free beer that was not great at the time. So that was the idea behind it. But from the start, me, David, and Julien, when we started the set, we said, I'm fine with doing a blonde, but we're not going to be only a blonde brewery. I mean, we're gonna start with a blonde, and then we want to expand and do craft. I would say more crafty beer, if you want.
Right.
So the blonde was a millet and corn.
Millet and corn. Okay.
So you get a little sweetness out of the millet, a little tart, not obviously
tart,
not sour, but you get a little bit tart. We will,
citrusy,
yeah.
Yep. Getting that.
We use a pretty neutral yeast. At the brewery, we have two main yeasts. We have an American style for the IPA and kind of a more English generic for all the other beers. And we use hops just enough. We make it just enough bitter so it's refreshing. But obviously, we didn't want to be too bitter at the start, but we don't want to be too light either. So I think we find just the right balance to keep it refreshing. A little zesty note, citrus a little bit. Obviously not overpowering, but just a little bit in there. So yeah, pretty refreshing beer.
Definitely refreshing.
Yeah.
What are the hops you guys use in this one?
Mostly Styrian Golding.
Okay.
And we will blend a little bit with Willamette also, add a little bit in there. And we use a little bit of Tradition also.
Okay. Are they all noble hops?
Tradition is Styrian. It's kind of a hybrid if you want.
Right.
Willamette is not.
Off that general.
Yeah.
Willamette is not.
No, it's an American hop.
Okay, my bad.
Pretty common.
Okay.
And what we found out is that we use a lot of different hops in all the different recipes, because obviously each crop each year the flavor profile is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we have no beers that we brew are focused only one hops. If there's anything happen to the beer, we always have space to kind of play with the hops, so we're fine. So the blonde is mostly like Tradition, Styrian Golding, a little bit of Willamette, and we have bittering hops that we just only use for bittering.
Right.
So we can play with it if with each year, if the crops is not the same, if the flavor profile isn't the same, we can shift a little bit from left to right to make sure the beer is stable and it's pretty. To keep it the same for the consumer. Yeah,
definitely smart.
Yeah.
That's sick. No, I really enjoy this beer. It's fantastic. Let's get into beer stories then. I don't know, whoever wants to start first.
Yeah.
So how did you get into beer?
Well, I can start with my story.
Yeah, go with yours. Yeah, it's pretty different.
It's pretty different. So my story, our story, so Julian and myself. So back in 2010, so we were friends, went to university together. Mm-hmm. We started another small company together, just for fun, or just the idea of starting our own company was exciting. It was not like a huge success, so we decided to give ourselves a second chance. Mm-hmm. And we had this crazy idea because Julian is gluten sensitive. It's not celiac, but gluten sensitive.
Okay.
And we had this crazy idea of like
starting
our brewery, even if we were not brewers, which is pretty unique in our industry. Usually it's home brewers, and then they start their breweries. So for us, it was the opposite. So we had this really good idea. Today we know that it was like a really good idea. Business opportunity. Mm-hmm. So we went to business school together. So we have this business background before having the beer background. So we started to work on the business plan, everything, finding the money, uncles, parents, everything. And then we found Gabriel. I can definitely say
each other.
We found him on Facebook in 2010. Yeah. We posted something like, "Oh, we're two random guys starting their gluten-free brewery, and we don't know how to make beer. So do you want to join us, please?" And then we met Gabriel, the only brewer that we met, and and then the meeting went really well. So Gabriel started to make batches in his basement in Verdun. Yep. So we came every week, tasting the different combination of grain. Mm-hmm. So we didn't want to use sorghum like the other gluten-free breweries back then.
Sorghum is a rice. Is that correct?
Sorghum is like an ancient grain from
I think it's closer to rice.
Close to rice.
Close to rice. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
And this grain gives this really particular taste.
Is it
kind of
metallic?
medicinal or metallic?
Almost, tart.
So just the idea of not using this grain was a big thing for us, and it helped us differentiating ourselves from like our competitors. So it took roughly like a year. And I mean, like we had already bought our tanks, everything. The brewery was ready to go, and the recipe of the blonde was not even ready. So we had
We're getting close, but the stress level was getting higher.
So we won some contests like the city level in Montreal, like entrepreneur like contests, stuff like that, with like no products to sample.
Right.
So they were
really cool.
So they trusted the entrepreneurs, and they knew that it was like a good idea. And we launched the blonde in 2011. First sales in July 2011.
Actually, the last test batch was the first commercially available batch. I mean, we were, I would say, maybe 80 to 90% close to what we want, and at some time we had some difficulty. I mean, on the home brewer, the brewing process is a little bit different than a traditional brewing because of the grain size, the kind of grain, and the fact also it's unmalted grain.
Right.
So we were getting close, but we had some limitation due to the equipment I have at home. So I said, at that point, we'll just give it a try. Brew 1,000 liter and say it's gonna be a big failure or we're gonna do it. So it was the first batch was pretty stressful.
That tasted like cider for like almost 6 months, or like another type of beverage, but not beer. It was like really hard to get close to like a beery,
like to replicate that.
To replicate that. And then your story, maybe Gabriel. So when you started brewing for us, it was like brewing like night shift for us and day shift at McCausland. Like sleeping at the brewery or like on a chair, something that is always been able to
survive.
Survive just by sleeping and not eating for like 12 hours without noticing that he's like hungry.
That was. I mean, I guess when you start any business or any brewery, I mean, you have to. Our mindset at that point was just make it work. Just like I said, I mean, the first batch, the last test batch was the real batch. So we're just like, let's find it. It's always I've been our mindset is let's find a way to make it work. And sometime, I mean, we did some pretty weird thing.
I mean, it was like so exciting because we started like our Facebook page, I think like a year before we launched. So we already had like our people following us, and like so exciting to finally have new products, because it like in this category it's been like the same like beers or like coming from the same brewery for I don't know like 10 years before we arrived. So people were just like desperately waiting for something new flavors. So I think we were like pumped and so excited to launch our first beer, and it went like really well from day one until today. It's never stopped, and that's the short version of the story. And then if I can like continue a little bit, 6 months later we win the World Beer Cup. So gold, silver, and bronze of the World Beer Cup.
Wow. We
had like the blonde, the pale ale, and the red. Even if we were supposed to have the blonde only for 2 years, we decided to launch the pale ale and the red after 3 or 4 months. And then we sent these 3 beers to the World Beer Cup and swept the podium.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, and then we started to get emails, phone calls from distributors across the States, in Europe, everywhere. So we started to export to the US 6 months after that, in New England, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, everything.
Right, so it's pretty early on.
Yeah.
Right in the States. Okay.
Yeah. And today we ship to 25 states.
Amazing.
Across Canada too. So
the good thing about what you're doing is that you've got that brewery just behind us in there. There's no barley comes anywhere near
exactly.
it.
No. So we have 2
risk
breweries.
of contamination.
Glutenberg is like a dedicated gluten-free brewery, no risk of contamination. It's always been the case. And then we have Hochelaga, but it's in a separate building. Well, not building. It's the same building
with walls.
Yeah, so like no risk of.
So it's kind of literally right there.
Yeah, right there.
Right.
We thought about it when we brainstormed the project, but do we start like a traditional brewery with the gluten-free brand if you want? And the risk is
but
too high.
It wouldn't
for
be
us.
like so risky, because as long as it's not like the milling room is probably the place where it's more like risky to have contamination, but as long as it's like in a liquid form and it's
pretty
the tanks are clean.
CIPs are good enough to clean everything.
It wouldn't be like so risky, but since we don't have certification, stuff like that. It's always been like a
Nothing comes in, nothing comes out.
exactly
Easier like this.
something we guarantee, even without like having certifications. We guarantee that it's always been gluten free, and I think like our customers, they trust us, so we don't have to like put like a big gluten-free logo on it. They trust that the fact that it's always going to be safe.
They know what it is.
They know that it's the only thing that we do. And I think it's good for us.
That's
And there's something really weird is that the when you want to identify yourself as gluten-free, you have to be under 20 ppm. It's 20 ppm.
What does that mean?
Parts per million. So you can have gluten in your beer. That's why some brewery like Omission in the state will remove the gluten, but there will be somewhere between 2 or 18 ppm. But the problem is that people who are sensitive, even if they don't, the first problem is that they might take a gluten-free product and they can still have a reaction. So that's pretty bad. I mean, you have an allergy or a sensitivity, you take a product and you still feel like crap. That's not
it's
not
not
great.
even labeled as gluten-free. It's labeled as gluten, crafted to remove gluten or something like that.
Also, they can't say
They
gluten-free.
can't guarantee that it's going to be gluten-free because they cannot like detect the amount of. But they know that it's under 20 ppm, but is it like 19 or 5?
Some people will have reaction at 0. Some people will be okay until 10 or 15. I don't know. So it's kind of tricky to drink a product or eat a product, whatever, that you're not, even if it's written on it, you're not sure you're going to be fine. And also your condition will get, the more gluten you get, the worse the condition will get. So you can drink a beer that you don't have any reaction to it, and after a couple of years, your condition might start to be a little bit worse. So with all this in mind, we said, oh no, we're just going to go like no gluten, no problems.
And I mean, why would you like take the risk? I mean, it's not like we only had like one style, something like really boring. So we make like 6, 7 regular styles depending on the market. We have seasonal. So why would you, unless it's like a problem of distribution, you can't find it in your market, then you're gonna drink something else. But at the same price point, if it's available, there's no reason why you
take the chance or
take the chance
a risk
to drink something else when you're celiac or sensitive.
No, I guess it's your health, right? It's a lot more serious than just enjoying a beer.
Exactly.
Right. And on top of the 5 or 6 or 6 or 7 stars, we've got a bunch of stuff going on here.
Fun stuff.
Something that we can taste.
We can crack the assemblage if you want.
Assemblage before it goes.
It's the same thing.
Let's do this.
Let's do it. That was this one?
Yeah, that's maybe this one. Yeah.
Assemblage. Okay. So tell us about this one. 4.6.
So it's Assemblage number 2.
Okay.
Nice. So Gabriel, you want to talk about it?
Yep. So that's like we mentioned earlier. I mean, obviously we not concentrate, but we
Finish your beer game.
Come on, man.
It's non-alcoholic, so
You can go crazy. I'll pour you some more if you like. So the Assemblage, is it actually from these guys right behind us here?
Good question. Some of them are. Some of them have been double filled.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't have all the numbers by, but we. Yeah, but go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, we ventured into like we mentioned, we don't want to go straight like only brewing blonde or only brewing light beer. So we did a lot of different styles, and we started having fun with barrels a couple of years ago.
Okay.
We produced the Imperial Sauterlon, which was a beer we brewed with maple, fenugreek, molasses, coffee, and we aged it in rum barrels. So this is where we start. At that point, we had a lot of barrels, close to like 200s. We sell a lot. We sell maybe a third of it. We sell to other breweries, and we had maybe 100, 120 barrels just for one beer.
Right.
So we did the Imperial Sauterlon, which had like super, really good review.
When you guys
Big
the big bottles
bottle.
there.
cork and cage ones and stuff?
Yeah.
They look sick.
So it was pretty good. So we emptied it obviously to produce the beer, and we did another beer which was the Celiac. So it was a fig. Is it how you say it in English? Fig. Yeah. So a beer made with figs. and tea also.
Nice.
So we aged it in rum barrels also, so the same barrels. But after it was pretty old barrels, so we had to get rid of them all because they cannot accept beer anymore. I mean, they were leaking, and see the flavor profile was going off after those 2 beers. So we expand a lot here also. So we kind of a year that we don't experiment with barrels, and I think it's been 2 years that we are reintroducing barrels pretty often. So we did Assemblage 1, which was a mix of different barrels, and what we have here is Assemblage 2, which is basically a quarter of it's a traditional kettle sour that we brew, and then it's a different mix. We select different barrels, so some with lactose, some with different Brettanomyces strains.
Good, huh? Yeah.
So we select the barrels we want, and a small portion of it, maybe a tenth, is beer aged with Brett and fruit. So we have mango, pineapple, and apricot. So we just select the different barrels, just a little bit. Maybe
I get a bit of that.
it's just a little bit.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And it's a first because it's not even like out in the market, so it's
This is not out yet?
no, it's gonna be
it's not out
launched
yet.
in like a month or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
The Assemblage 1 was packaged ready, if you want.
Yep.
So we packaged both pretty much at the same time. So we select, what we had in mind was to but age a lot of beers. And then we select some. Some we kept for later. Some was made into the 1, others are made into the 2. But the 2, what we found is there's a lot more of, there were more residual sugars and more bread into the barrels. So we package it almost flat and we let it age in cans, so the bread can continue producing flavors. And we taste every now and then. And now it's pretty where we want it to be, so it's gonna be launched. I don't know when.
This comes out in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
So
3-4 weeks.
around the time.
Yeah,
Probably
Look
like
out.
So it's
early
gonna be-
September or August.
this is where we want it
really
to
good.
be. Yeah.
I do a review thing, whilst I always do this on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I take a photo with the beer. You guys put the beer in that.
Yeah,
Jump in.
So
It's really cool, really funky.
so
aren't
good.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like once again, it's one of those ones where it's like, well, close your eyes, or you could blind taste it. Does it even taste like a gluten-free beer?
No,
Like,
No,
I don't think so at all. That's why you guys.
It's the
are
same
winning.
with like the Gose. It's pretty much the same thing. I think with like the sour styles, it's
It
I don't
kind of
know.
hides the
the mouth.
malt anyway.
I don't know. Like the mouthfeel is already like different in the malt-based beer. So I think it's always been like easier for us to.
we learned our craft, if you want. Like I mentioned earlier, I mean, we're just going to do the best beer possible with the ingredients available. Obviously, there is some beer styles that we're probably never going to try or to go to. If I think, let's say, just some English style
or Pilsner maybe.
Pilsner that's really malt focused, like that.
Yeah.
It's really a traditional
Bread.
Pilsner malt. I mean, we don't have access to
Even if
to
we
this
use like
malt.
millet, like Pilsner malt,
We have access to
but it wouldn't taste like the same.
not exactly same.
Yeah,
Some
it's-
English style that are really English malt focus. We cannot do this, but obviously anything that is hoppy, sour, wild, we have access to. I mean, we can work with hops. We can work with different kind of yeast.
Right.
Obviously, we have a challenge also when it comes to yeast. Most yeast are produced on a gluten media. So there we don't have access to all the yeast, but or what we'll do is that we'll bring yeast in our lab. We'll isolate the strain, propagate it into a gluten-free media, and then we're good to go. Because like we mentioned, nothing comes in, nothing comes out.
Yeah.
So even if it's small amount of gluten that is in the yeast, even if you propagate it, we don't want to take any chance. So
So
we
it's
just
a separate.
yeah. So
Like
it's
separate sort of place in here, doesn't even go near the brewery type of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in the lab, we will just keep the yeast, not remove the gluten, but propagate it on gluten-free media, and then we're good to go. So yeah, for this one, we try with different strains, and we
Nailed it with this one.
experiment.
It's really
love
cool.
it.
That, like just like if you're an actual celiac or gluten sensitive, like you actually now have a similar choice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can get a Gose, you can do like a sour.
Yeah.
Like I remember Pierre actually gave me one. I haven't drank it yet for some reason, but he gave me one of the stouts from like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
In a bottle.
Yeah.
It's a little bottle.
Yeah.
Don't know. I've been just like aging it, but
Yeah.
like that's phenomenal that you can literally go the whole spectrum of beer styles. Now you're not, because it used to be that it was just whatever.
And I think it's more than that. I think today we sell to a lot, more people than just Celiac especially in Quebec and Canada. In the States, it's a different story because the price point is not the same.
A little high.
A little high.
Import,
But like in Quebec or especially in Quebec, like we sell a lot more to not, I would say normal, but like the traditional beer drinkers with like no need to drink gluten-free beer. They just like what we do. It's it's not reliable, but they know that it's always going to be good product that they can find pretty much everywhere. It's good quality,
consistent.
Consistent. So it's a lot of good reasons to buy our products, and this is why the sales have been like going crazy.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool. I really appreciate your time today, guys.
Yeah,
thanks to you guys.
Really appreciate it.
No, thank
you. Thank you so much. Where can they find you online?
Online, Glutenberg.ca, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, but it's that you won't find
much happening.
Any updates. But definitely Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah. That's it.
And our products on transbrew.com. There's an interactive map. You can find where you can find our products around you.
It's pretty nice. So you can also see where the beer has been shipped. So you're sure to find, if you really want the freshest beer near you, you can know exactly where the last shipment was made.
When it's green, it's fresh. When it's yellow, it's not so fresh. And then when it's red, just call us. And
we usually just get the beer back. It usually doesn't happen, but
we'll take it out.
So it's nice to see if you really want that IPA fresh, you can see that 3 days ago it has been shipped to your local store, so you know it's going to be fresh. So we like that.
That's smart.
Good.
I love it.
Right.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, guys.
Guys, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, and hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the new. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast and check out the long form audio so you can see and listen to very attractive gentlemen like these two right here talk about beer. And follow us on Spotify as well. We're up on there recently. That is it, guys. Thank you. Cheers.